You can hear me, okay. So I thought I'd make this video because Topcat is back and he's made some interesting points, to say the least. So I'll read it. It's from my last video. And in my last video I made the argument that it's not just Jews, and pretty much all capitalists, and I'm going to say 99% of them, follow the same line and have the same interests. So we'll read what Topcat's got to say. He's quoted me as saying they imported them as they wanted reserve labour, and he said only a half truth. It's not a hard truth. It's not a half truth. It's the main reason. It's not just cheap labour. They also wanted increased agri. It's purely economic reasons, though. Your boys on record stating their real reasons for mass importations. Well, like I've said, some capitalists, some Jewish capitalists have got their own reasons, but our own capitalists, like white English capitalists, it's purely economical. They've always been individualistic, he says. Wrong again. You need reining in these rambling streams. William Lever, Cadbury, the Cadbury family use their positions to benefit the people. I love that, to benefit the people. He's given some poor examples, by the way, because William Lever and Cadbury, like both of them, were liberals. They were part of the Liberal Party, and they were part of a movement called the Nonconformists. Now, what did the Nonconformists want? Well, the Nonconformists were, it was essentially they were against how the education system was in England. Because how the education system was in England was that pretty much, where's my comments? Gone, aren't they? The education system in England prioritised Catholics and Church of England, and they would use taxpayers' money to fund these religious schools because England prioritised Church of England and Catholics. Like if you were a Catholic or Church of England, you got priority in England, and these liberals were not in favour of that. And in fact, these liberals, Cadbury and William Lever, were not only in favour of, well, they were against this sort of privilege that was given to Catholics and Church of England. They also wanted more women to be involved in the education system and the church system. They were also against the church as a whole. They wanted a secular state. They wanted free market capitalism. And more specifically, Lever and Cadbury wanted to weaponise the empire for their own self-interests. An example would be Lever wanted the empire to move it in towards Asia, mainly because he relied on palm oil for his own products, because he made soap, didn't he? So that's why he acted in the way he did. Now, a lot of people will call into the fact that William Lever and Cadbury were good employers, generally speaking. They paid their workers a decent wage, built housing, etc., etc. And this is no new thing in capitalism. Capitalists will quite often bribe the proletariat for like a greater cause. So obviously, these capitalists like William Lever and Cadbury and Henry Ford, who we'll talk about in a bit, they bribed the proletariat to support them pretty much. The idea is keep them passive, give them gibs pretty much, give them a decent wage and whatever, and they'll support you when you run for parliament and you want to do pretty fucked up things like destroy the church and invade a certain country. So that's why William Lever and Cadbury supported policies that sound good if you don't understand the context. It's quite manipulative. Another example would be Tony Blair. Tony Blair did the same thing. Now, it's very clearly the case that Tony Blair wanted to increase immigration. He wanted a war in Afghanistan and Iraq in the Middle East. So he needed support from people. So how did Tony Blair get support? Tony Blair got support by, Sure Start programs, increasing the, being more charitable with tax credits and things like that. And that's how he got support. He got support by giving people gibs so he can fucking invade the third world. And this is exactly what Lever and Cadbury did. They did not give a fuck about. They didn't give a fuck about English people. They only pragmatically gave a fuck about English people, so it could serve their greater interests of expanding the empire and also destroying the crown and church, because in their time in history, they did live in a world where England was highly religious, and not just religious, but prioritised Catholics and the Church of England, and people like William Lever and Cadbury were not in favour of that. They wanted free market capitalism, less regulations on them. They wanted the empire to go into these countries, and then they could make a lot of money from it for themselves, and they weren't required to pay a lot of taxes and stuff. So they wanted to be capitalists abroad with help of the empire, remove the crown, and destroy the church. That's what William Lever and Cadbury wanted to do. So because they wanted to do that, they had to get support from people. So the way that they got support from people was by giving them gibs, good housing, good pay, etc, etc. So that's me answering that. And I said, exceptions prove the rule. And what I mean by that is that even if I was going to be charitable, because if you're going to debate someone, you need to be charitable. So if I'm going to steal man Topcat's fucking argument, which is not every capitalist is a greedy, self-interested bastard, and that is true. There are many capitalists who genuinely give a fuck about their country and are not greedy in that way. But exceptions like this prove the general rule, and the general tendency when you have capitalism is internationalism, exploitation, anti-family, anti-nation, and generally speaking, capitalists become very liberal and globalistic in nature and driven by profit. So exceptions prove the rule, just like the IQ argument. I'm sure you're familiar with the IQ argument that whites and blacks have certain IQs and whatever, and that Jews operate in a certain way. If you're a Wignat, you probably believe that Jews operate in a certain way. And I might point out a based Jew or a based black man or a based Asian, and you'd be right to say, Phil, but exceptions prove the rule. Exceptions prove the rule. Of course, there's the occasional Jew that's based, the occasional black person that's okay. The occasional blah 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 blah, but exceptions prove the rule. We're talking about tendencies here. And then I can't remember what I wrote. Both Lever and Cadbury were classical liberals in the sense they were against the crown, argued for free market capitalism. They only gave a shit about the English to keep them passive while they raped the world. They weaponized the empire so they as individuals could make a fucking killing, which is true, objectively true. And Murdoch Cat, or Top Cat, says, "You are what Rockwell termed a friend of the captain." And Rockwell, our favourite fucking Fed poster from America, of course. And we'll read what Rockwell's got to say on this when he talks about friend of the captain. Because it's bollocks. Absolute bollocks, but we'll read it. It's George Lincoln Rockwell, Chapter 7, Friends of the Captain. I think this is a poem. I think it's a poem by George Lincoln Rockwell. We'll read it. We'll read it right now. It says, "The shipwrecking plan is not the only one the Jews have in operation to get wealth without work. The aim is always the same, to capture all the wealth and the good of the world without working, and the enslavement of the non-Jews to the glory and the pleasure of the chosen ones, according to their own prophecies, while brutal Bolshevik Jews wait on shore to pounce on the ship as soon as it's finally wrecked, murder all hands and walk off with the wealth. There is another gang of Jews already aboard this ship with a different plan for taking over the wealth. This gang of Jews are friends of the captain. They are not cutthroats and pirates, no sir. The friends of the captains are all pro-ship and anti-pirate. They are called capitalists. What their Jewish brothers lurking offshore want to do by force and violence, the captain's friends are already doing aboard the ship by stealth and fraud, by esteemed members of the ship's company. These gentlemen Jews operate in striped pants and top hats, but their business is old Jewish fashion usury. Few noticed the phrase capitalist was popularised by none other than a bloody old Jew, Marx himself, a shipwrecker. Until Marx told our kind of people they were capitalists in his Das Kapital, they never gave what they were doing economically such a formal name. But they did not know what they believed in. It was not capitalism. Capital was only the tool for our people. In the process of production, men like Henry Ford were not interested simply in getting money. Rather, this is very interesting, so we'll repeat that. Men like Henry Ford were not interested simply in getting money. Rather, they were trying to do something. In Ford's case, give all Americans an automobile via Ford's discovery of mass production. I love this because the way it portrays Henry Ford as if the way it portrays Henry Ford as if he was in fact, let's put a famous quote by Henry Ford to sort of reveal his true intentions. So we'll put this on. This is we'll put it on. There's a lot of myths going about in regards to Henry Ford. So Henry Ford said, if it's anti-Semitism to say that communism in the United States is Jewish, so be it. But the unprejudiced mind, it would look very much like Americanism. Communism all over the world, not only in Russia, is Jewish. Whoa. And if you were a Wignat, you'll read that and you'll go fucking based. Henry Ford is based. Am I right, guys? He obviously supports the Americans. He lives off the Americans, am I right? He cares about the Americans, George Lincoln Rockwell does. And a few autistic people in the chat will say, well, not only that, Phil, but, Henry Ford was well fucking woke on the Jewish question. He would hand out pamphlets on the protocols of Zionism. And he would talk about how communism and Bolshevism is Jewish. And he cared about the American people. That was his primary goal. However, it's important to talk about this. Even though Henry Ford would say things like, communism is Jewish, Stalin is a Jew, etc., etc. It's important to remember that Henry Ford also, and we'll read this, 1929, Ford Motor Company signs agreement with the Soviet Union. Oh, that's weird. After 2 years of exploratory visits, friend negotiations, Ford Motor Company signs a landmark agreement to produce cars in the Soviet Union. On May 30th, 1929, the Soviet Union, which in 1928 had only 20,000 cars and a single truck factory, was eager to join the ranks of the automotive productive, and Ford, with its focus on engineering and manufacturing. The always independent-minded Henry Ford was strong in favour of his free market company doing business with the communist countries. Ford was quoted as saying, no matter where industry prospers, whether in India, China or Russia, all the world is bound to catch some good from it. So it's very clearly the case that Henry Ford, during World War II, he funded everyone. Like Henry Ford did the classic capitalist thing of funded everyone, like absolutely everyone. On one hand, he would say, fucking hell, communism's Jewish, everyone. Stalin's a fucking Jew. We have to reject communism. And on the other hand, he's there fucking funding communists. So make that of what you will. You know what I mean? Henry Ford clearly wanted America to be involved with that war, and the way that he did it, right, the way that Henry Ford got Americans involved in that war was by supporting both Germany and the Soviet Union and sort of spreading these ideas in America. He would quite often, like, the great thing about Henry Ford in terms of being a capitalist is that he would stir anti-Soviet sentiment in America whilst also funding the Soviet Union, and he would also be pro-Nazi whilst funding both America, Soviet Union and England. So he was invested in all camps. Let's not forget that Henry Ford made a fucking killing out of World War II, and I mean a fucking killing. Not only did he fund the Soviets, he also funded the Germans, and he helped the Germans build factories, he helped the Soviets build factories, he helped Americans build factories, and it was basically, I mean, look at this, by the end of the war, Ford had built 86,865 complete aircraft, 57,851 airplane engines, 4,291 military gliders. So you might think that, oh, fucking hell, Henry Ford is based, guys. Henry Ford was fucking based. He was against the Soviets, even though he funded the fucking Soviets. He was pro-Germany, even though he funded German enemies. He was pro-America, even though he funded American enemies. He was pro-England, even though he funded English enemies. Henry Ford only gave a fuck about himself throughout that war. He funded everyone, helped everyone, and he slept like a fucking baby during that fucking war. So, yeah, George Lincoln Rockwell, your example of Henry Ford is fucking bollocks. The only reason cringe wignats like George Lincoln Rockwell and Topcat will cite Henry Ford as a based capitalist is because he would talk about the Jews. He would say, oh, it's really the Jews, everyone. The Jews are the problem. And it's like, oh, the Jews are the problem, Rockwell, yeah. Well, how come you're funding Jews then? How come you're helping Jews? It's a bit weird that you're anti-Jew but helping Jews. Because that is objectively what George Lincoln Rockwell did. George Lincoln Rockwell, he would, like I say, George Lincoln Rockwell would, on one hand, say that the Soviet Union was filled with Jews and they're not to be trusted. Communism is Jewish. He would fund them, help them out, help them build factories. On the other hand, he would say, I'm pro-American. I'm helping the American people defeat the Nazis. He's like, aren't you funding the Nazis? Yeah, I'm funding the Nazis and the communists. And you. He only give a fuck about himself. As does every other capitalist. We've talked about free capitalists in this chat. And on paper, if you don't know anything about them, you'd think they were quite based. You know, like Cadbury and Lever. When you only know about the stuff they did for their own workers, you think, oh, they're decent people. They're paying their workers a decent wage, and it all seems nice. It seems as if they're driven by the good of their nation. Or Henry Ford, you think, oh, he's helping the American people. That's what Henry Ford is doing. But when you actually look a bit deeper, scratch the surface a little, it's like, yeah. So really, what Lever and Cadbury wanted to do was to destroy the crown, destroy the Church of England, and also weaponise the British Empire to move into Asia, like East Asia, so that they could get resources for their own self-interests. And also, because they have a secular government, the church doesn't have dominance anymore, and they can sort of take over and be the bourgeoisie and control society. And then you realise, actually, these are dirty, filthy capitalist pigs, and they're just as bad as Jews, if not worse. You know, let's not forget, right? Lever, Cadbury, the Liberal Party of England, they were all Anglos, all Anglo people, and the main thing that they are like famous for is secularising England even more and helping destroy the crown and the church. Yeah. And you got people like Henry Ford, who was just a greedy bastard who tried to agitate Americans into that war, and also distract people from him. Like, he would often talk about the Jews and how greedy they are and how evil they are, but when it was about himself, he was like, oh no, I'm not like the Jews, guys. I'm nothing like the Jews. I'm Henry Ford. I send pamphlets out in my fucking workplace. I'm just like you. I am. I'm Henry Ford. I give fucking protocols of Zion on my workplace. I'm not like the Jews. I'm just like you guys. I mean, I care about America. So, oh, you care about America, Henry Ford? It's interesting you should say that, because it seems to me that you were fucking trading with everyone on the planet and helping everyone on the planet because you were, 1, a globalist, 2, a stinking capitalist pig, and 3, you only give a fuck about yourself completely. You're just as bad as the Jews, and it's my belief you used the Jews as a way of distracting people away from what you were doing, pretty much. Yeah, and that's what it is. That's what it fucking is. So that's the end of this stream. Pretty much, yeah. So don't be buying this shit that Henry Ford was based, or that there's like based capitalists, because I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, to be honest. It's the end of the stream, everyone. Pretty much. We finish with a song, maybe. Fuck it, we will. Finish with a song, and it's a bit froze up for us. We'll have that on. Fuck it. I'll put a commie song. I don't give a fuck at the end of the day. Put a commie song on. If you don't like it, you can get fucked, can't you?
Pepsi Max, maximum taste, no sugar.
So yeah, my point is, every time people make this argument that they'll make this argument and they'll say, well, actually, Phil, some capitalists are based, okay? Some capitalists were all right, you know. Some of them cared about our people. Yeah, people like Henry Ford, he cared about Americans, okay? He was dealing with the Jewish question. He was waking people up to the Jewish question, Phil. And it's like, yeah, that might be true, but it also might be the case that he was trying to agitate Americans to get involved in World War II, and he was also funding everyone in World War II, like the Soviet Union, America, Britain, Germany, literally fucking everyone. This motherfucker betrayed like Henry Ford betrayed everyone and slept like a fucking baby. Never forget that. You know what I mean? Never forget that. Slept like a fucking baby. Yeah, he slept like a fucking baby. Yeah? Or when people talk about they talk about based capitalists like Lever and Cadbury. It's like Lever was based. Lever built houses for the working class in England. It's like, yeah, but he was also trying to destroy the church, destroy the crown, and weaponize the empire to go to the Eastern Asia so he could build factories there and just rob the fuck out of them. And also, bring fuck all back, because he was a liberal. Because he was a liberal, the beauty of being a liberal back then was, it was like, right, I'm going to weaponize the empire to go to Africa, and when I've robbed Africa, I'm also not bringing anything back, because it's my business, and you have no right to tax me. It's like, you fucking greedy bastard. And Cadbury was the same. So don't give me this shit of based capitalists from the past. Because 99% of the time, they were all fucking greedy bastards. All of them. Like, absolutely all of them. Greedy fucking bastards that did horrendous shit. Yeah, and just because they gave the workers like a decent wage in a house doesn't mean that they weren't fucking robbing the planet or destroying the country, because they fucking were. So yeah, if we're going to have nationalism, it's going to be proletarian nationalism. It's not going to be simping for these fucking unicorn capitalists. Because that's what you're doing. You're finding unicorn capitalists, like, and they're always wrong as well. I love it. Whenever people whenever people extensively look for a capitalist who was based, and this is the problem, you know there's something wrong with capitalism when you have to extensively look for a based capitalist from the past. It's like these people, that they spend about 4 days looking for one capitalist who wasn't trying to fucking fuck over the country. It's like, like Top Cat will come back and he'll go, Henry Ford was based. I've got you, Phil. I fucking got you. Henry Ford was based. He paid his workers a decent wage. He built houses. He talked about the JQ. And it's like, oh, what about everything else he did? It's like, shit. Every single fucking time you find a capitalist, they're always doing something greedy that's trying to destroy the country. Every single time. And I don't give a fuck what their ethnicity is. It's a feature of the system. The system in of itself encourages people to become this way. And when you're blaming just the Jews, you're doing their bidding. You're doing the fucking bidding. They want you to just blame the Jews. It isn't just the Jews, man, I'm telling you. In fact, everyone, that's your homework. Your homework is to find a capitalist, right? Is to find a capitalist. And what about a really successful capitalist? Not John from down the road who owns a shop, or your landlord, right? I want you to find a good capitalist who didn't do something fucked up, yeah? Who didn't do something fucked up to destroy the nation. Lots of good Murdoch Topcats here. Lots of good aristocrats in years gone by too. Well, name them then. Where are they now? And this is another question. I want you to find a capitalist who exists now, like in the year 2021. A capitalist who is not trying to fucking destroy your country in some way. You know what I mean? Just one. Only one. That's all you gotta do. We've got some people who found some based capitalists. I think I'll go on my chat. We've got people who found some based capitalists. You're already wrong, by the way. You're already dead wrong. But whatever. We'll go on it. Shut up. So we've got Daughter of Albion has said Josiah Wedgwood. Ah, on paper you'd think, yeah, Josiah Wedgwood was based. He was a good guy. He cared about his workers as well. But you're mentioning another liberal nonconformist. Josiah Wedgwood was part of a movement that wanted to secularize society. He was against. It was the Education Act of I think it was 1907. No, the Education. I can't remember which Education Act it was, but he was against. He was against the policy of prioritising the Church of England. He was also against the Crown, the Church of England, and also wanted to weaponise the British Empire for his own self-interests. So yeah, there we go. You're not gonna fucking do that. There's no gotcha moment where you're gonna find some, I suppose Josiah Wedgwood is good because he made like, yeah, he only asked for like Josiah Wedgwood was a piece of shit. If you only focus on the good shit he did, it's alright, but then you look at the bad shit Wedgwood did, and it's like, yeah, he wanted to secularise society, destroy the church, destroy the crown, and he also wanted to weaponise the fucking empire again to like places where he could get his resources from. So he was a piece of shit. He was a piece of shit, man. You know what I mean? He was a piece of shit. Batman, we've got Batman. Yeah, Batman was alright. I get no. Batman was a piece of shit as well. Like people don't talk about this, but Bruce Wayne, right? Here's the thing, right? If you look at Gotham City. In fact, I'll put it on. Fuck it, I'll put it on. Fuck. Oh shit! No, nigga. Oh, fuck off. Let's put Gotham City on. I've got the Telegram. Oh, it's fucking shit in the background. No, I'm not putting Batman on. Fuck off. Right, if you look at Gotham City, clearly the problem of Gotham City, what is it? Yeah, you got a lot of crime in Gotham City. And a way of solving the problems, Dalboy, I guess Dalboy was a good capitalist, yeah. Dalboy's alright, yeah, but he's a fictional character, but whatever. The way you solve the problems in Gotham City is you invest in the poor people. The main problem of Gotham City is you got a load of poor people with no access to employment, and they get no help from the fucking state whatsoever, so they resort to crime. Fucking Bruce Wayne is a fucking billionaire. He's a fucking billionaire who wonders why there's loads of crime. He's like, oh my god, there's loads of crime in my city and I just don't know what I'm gonna do. So here's an idea, Batman. Why don't you fucking invest in your people? Why don't you start creating jobs for people and like donating to charity? You know what I mean? Donate to charity. Help these poor people out. Help them out. They're fucking terrible because of you. Because you're a greedy fucking bastard. He's like, I just don't know what to do. I don't know what to do, guys. This city's a fucking mess. It's got nothing to do with me. It's like, it fucking has, yeah? Daughter of Albion said lovely vases. Yeah, they've got lovely vases, yeah? Dalboy is the ideal capitalist. Oh, yeah, I guess he is. Dalboy's a good capitalist. Nothing wrong with that. The Italian mafia are base capitalists. Yeah, I guess so. Alright, yeah. Anyway, gotta go.